There are a lot of YouTubers I've watched and gotten really obsessed with, but none of them have impacted me the way this person has. Gigguk, aka Garnt, is a YouTuber that does a lot of anime-related content. Video essays, abridged series, summaries, and season reviews. And he's also the reason I started making videos in the first place. Back in high school, it was a tradition for me to pull up a video of his while I was eating or having a bad day. And eventually, later into high school, despite not even knowing what a video essay was, I made my first video fully inspired by and in honor of his channel. Embarrassingly, my old Twitter account still has wannabe Gigguk in my bio. But anyway, it's hard to think of a creator that's changed me as much as Gigguk has. Which is why the moment he announced that he was funding and creating his own anime, I was instantly hooked. And just recently, the premiere of Gigguk's first short anime film, Baan, was released. And it's incredible. As the end credits rolled, I actually almost cried. The type of story that Baan seeks to tell is clearly one deeply inspired by the people behind it. The emotion and personality that's packed into a less than 20-minute film is almost hard to fathom. And the actual quality of the show is pretty consistently breathtaking to match. The entire project is suffused with passion in a way that's just infectious, and seeing a person I've looked up to for so long putting out a piece of art like this really tugged on my heartstrings. But even aside from my emotional connection to this short, there are a bunch of aspects of this film that are unique in a way that I feel should be celebrated universally. Namely, the reveal that happens halfway through the film, the commitment to a South Asian-inspired fantasy setting, and the overall message of the short. Spoiler warning for some plot elements of the film. If you haven't checked out Baan yet, please go do it. It's a really captivating watch and will be worth your time. So one of the biggest things that really left me astonished in this short was the reveal that takes place about halfway through the runtime. The story seems to set up for the two main characters, Rin and Daichi, to be parallels to each other. Rin leaves her South Asian-inspired homeland to travel to Japan, and Daichi does the opposite, leaving his old life behind to travel to a fantasy world. And it's clear pretty early on that Daichi has gone to the world that Rin left behind, and through the visual storytelling it seems like both of these plotlines are happening at the exact same time. The director often uses mirrored shots and alternates focus between Rin and Daichi. This really sells the idea that these are two parallel storylines that will one day converge or have parallel story beats. But about halfway through the story, it's revealed that that's not the case at all. We see through Rin's memories that Daichi actually traveled to her homeland a long time in the past, arriving and settling down in time to witness a great tragedy that takes the lives of Rin's presumed mother and father. After that incident, Daichi takes Rin in and becomes her surrogate father, becoming fully integrated with the local culture and customs. We see that in reality, while we were correct about Rin and Daichi's stories being thematic parallels, they are in fact separated by a long stretch of time. And that Rin is going to Japan in the far future, in an echo of Daichi's path which led him to meet her. This is one of the best quote-unquote twists I've seen in a story. It's exclusively set up through shot choice and storyboarding, which builds up this assumption in your mind about the timeline of events. Learning that in actuality these two events are separated by a long stretch of time completely changes the trajectory of the story. While as previously the short seemed to want to tell a narrative about these two independent people and their experiences, we learn that this film is focused on telling the story of one complete family. The lives they've lived that have led them to and from each other's worlds, and the experiences that shaped them into who they are today. In my opinion, on a general storytelling level, this is the type of twist that actually has value. Purposefully misleading the audience during a thriller or mystery show and pulling the rug out from under them may lead to shock and confusion. But unless the twist actually builds on the story and pulls the plot in a better direction, there's no value gained. Having a big unearned gotcha moment is surprising and all, but also has no longevity and impact. The type of narrative reveal that takes place in Baan, which through a single scene entirely flips the flow of the story on its head, is the type of reveal that actually has value. It's a moment that has furthered the story and the themes the creator wants to share, while simultaneously surprising the audience. That's the epitome of a twist in my opinion, and I think the decision to approach the story in this way was an inspired one. Taking a step back from the themes of the actual short for a second, I want to talk about the Southeast Asian-inspired fantasy world that the story features. I really like seeing cultural influences in people's work, and getting to see a part of the world that's often overlooked be represented was a real treat. I got really hooked by the details that were featured in this short film, so I spent a while attempting to research what inspirations may have been used. And I think I found some really interesting things which I would like to share. If you guys have any alternate ideas of what inspired certain aspects of the show, I would love to hear them, especially if you're able to identify what cultures the elements of visual design are inspired by. So starting off light, I was really captivated by these bells featured in the ritual in the middle of the episode. Their design is very distinct, and the fact that they seem affixed to a ring makes them even more unique. I did some digging and wasn't able to find an exact analog for this type of bell design in real life. However, the style of the bell and the fact that it is held in this way does make me think of the Indian tal or manjira. It's essentially a small cymbal that is played in the hand. The way the bells fit together also seems reminiscent of China's cascading temple bells. In my opinion, these two influences together are possibly what inspired the design of these bells. Moving on to something a bit more plot relevant, I was really interested in the ceremony itself that takes place during the episode. From what the film seems to display, the ceremony takes place during a lunar eclipse, when one moon in the sky fully obscures the second. In the lead up to the day, the locals are seen giving offerings of rice and food at their doorstep, providing sustenance in some way to this dragon. In the ritual, the dragon, that seems to be either a deity or mythical creature, returns to the ground and molts its skin, appearing to bloom almost like a flower out of its old body. During this, the dragon also gives birth. It's unclear in the show if the dragon is supposed to survive this process or if this is a last life-giving act to sire successor. But regardless, in the film, the older dragon perishes anyways. Now that's a lot to unpack, and I wasn't able to find any specific mythical inspirations for this entire story in my search, but I was able to pinpoint some possible influences which I think are interesting. Going from least to most important, the offering of rice and food seems to be a tradition that stems from many different South Asian cultures. It's a pretty consistent trend in most countries in this sphere to give some form of food-like offering during ceremonies or certain days. These offerings can represent many things. They can be an attempt to placate an angry deity or as a token of respect and appreciation for the life we have. Moving along, one possible inspiration for the dragon that we see in the short film is the moon-eating dragon of the Philippines known as the Bakunawa. While most representations of the Bakunawa are as a fearsome and toothy creature, the primary focus of their mythos is their responsibility for causing eclipses. The original legend of the dragon involves a sky with 7 moons, which captivates the dragon into trying to eat them. This relation to eclipses as well as their identity as a dragon is what leads me to think that it may have been a possible inspiration. I think this influence was possibly combined with a Thai representation of a dragon, which has the characteristic plumes of the dragon in Baan. Slightly more convincing, though, in my opinion, is the idea that the festival of the dragon in this film could be inspired by the Thai deity known as Phra Rahu. Phra Rahu is a god of darkness which, in Thai mythology, is associated with the occurrence of eclipses. Looking at his appearance and the way he is often represented, it's hard to find many similarities with the gently majestic dragon of Baan. However, important to note is that on top of being the god of darkness, Rahu is also considered the god of destiny and the protector of those in transition. His worship comes with the ideals of embracing change, which seems to mirror the story told in Baan. Giving offerings to Phra Rahu seems to be a tradition in Thailand, especially during the eclipse as we see represented in the short film. In addition to that, the idea of molting, which we see the dragon in Baan do, is indicative of change and progression, which are both ideas that are represented by the god Rahu. This one shot in particular, where the dragon almost seems to be blooming like a flower, really drives home this theme of change, as blooming flowers are often representative of new life and growth. And the incredible thing about the story is that these cultural influences aren't just there for the aesthetics. The theme of life change and progression that is represented by this culturally rich ceremony mirrors the theme of the entire short film. Returning to the story of Rin and Daichi, both the good and bad aspects of change are present in their lives. They both leave their homes in search of something more and have to grapple with the realities of being so far from what they're used to. They both have bad experiences along with the good, more easily seen in Rin's life. She clearly has a lot of fun living in Japan, but when she sees the video of her father telling her it's okay to come home, she breaks down crying. Change is hard. Moving out and finding your place in the world is never easy, but that doesn't make it any less necessary. If Daichi never left his home and went to this other world, he never would have met Rin and been there for her. And Rin clearly wants to experience life in Japan, perhaps influenced by Daichi's own journey or maybe just because of her own innate desires. But in the end, Rin will always have a home where Daichi is. That's the lesson she learns by the end of the story. It's good to push yourself forward and find that change that'll give you the life you want. But you should always remember the people that love you and the places that really feel like home. And you shouldn't be afraid of falling back on that from time to time. Some last few things that I want to mention. This short film just looks great. Like from top to bottom, it's genuinely better to look at than a lot of actual anime out there. I think it really shows how much passion and care the people who made this film had for the project. I know if you've seen this short, you probably already know this, but Kevin Penkin was responsible for the soundtrack for Baan. And my gosh, I got chills. The moment the first track played, I could instantly feel the emotions of the story. This OST, despite being short, just drives home what I've always known. Kevin Penkin is by far my favorite anime composer. The theme of this show is just so indescribably beautiful. I hope to one day in my life approach the level of quality that he is able to put out so often. It's really an inspiration to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you had a good time. I just want to once again say that this project is amazing. Being familiar with a lot of Garnt's stuff, both on his channel and off, I really respect him as a creator. And I think a lot of the amazing cultural influences in the show are due to him and his own cultural background. I really had high hopes for this short, and somehow they were all surpassed with ease. I can confidently say I am so excited for whatever story Garnt wants to tell next. Please support this project and everyone involved. Thank you so much for watching.